Hello, everyone. My name is Daniele Marina, and I'm an Education USA advisor from ABA Recife. I'll just switch to Portuguese for a minute. Oi, todo mundo. Olá, gente. Meu nome é Daniele Marina, eu sou orientadora do Education USA, aqui da ABA em Recife. Um prazer enorme ter todos vocês aqui hoje. Muito obrigada por fazerem parte da nossa Feira Virtual do Education USA. Por favor, não deixem de nos seguir nas redes sociais, a gente vai estar disponibilizando para vocês aqui no Instagram, em todos os lugares possíveis, para a partir daqui, e se ainda não seguem, poderem seguir todas as orientações do Education USA após essa feira. E hoje o nosso tema é Academics at a US Campus. Nós temos representantes maravilhosos que estão aqui conosco, já vou apresentar cada um deles, tá? E para quem está chegando hoje, para quem já conhece o Education USA, só reforçando, o Education USA é a fonte oficial de informação sobre estudos nos Estados Unidos, afiliado ao Departamento de Estado do governo americano, e nossa missão é de promover o ensino superior nos Estados Unidos, né, oferecendo informações abrangentes, precisas e atualizadas, tá, sobre universidades americanas. Então, a Education USA tem uma rede global de centros de orientação, né, e muitos deles têm em torno de 40 centros aqui no Brasil. Eu estou aqui do Recife, temos hoje advisors também de Fortaleza, Salvador e também do Rio de Janeiro. Então, o Brasil aí representado, tá? Durante o evento, vocês podem fazer perguntas, tá, abrangentes, utilizando a sessão de Q&A. Então, make sure que tendo uma pergunta, vocês podem colocar lá. A gente tem um time de advisors que vai tentar responder ao longo da apresentação. E ao final da apresentação, caso haja tempo, a gente pode puxar algumas das perguntas para tentar responder aqui ao longo também. Mas lembro a vocês todos que depois desse momento que a gente vai ter a fala dos representantes das universidades aqui hoje, a gente vai ter também um momento que vocês podem falar diretamente com cada representante. Então, ao final, a gente vai disponibilizar os links individuais de cada sala, para que vocês possam tirar dúvidas, falar especificamente sobre algum ponto, tá, com cada um dos representantes, tá certo? Então, a gente vai começar agora, espero que todos aproveitem tanto quanto a gente vai aproveitar. And, well, let's start the panel. Boris, if you can please share the presentation. We can start with the introductions. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So yes, that's our topic for today, academics at a US campus. And now we switch back to English, right? And well, let's see who we have today with you guys. And let's see the next slide, please. So we have a full team, great team. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. So we have Sandra Lizama from Full Sail University, Rebecca Yoon from the Appalachian State University, Boris Polacek from CSUN, California State University, Northridge, Sujays Ronquillo from California State University, Monterey Bay, Lauren Humphrey from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Samantha Cammers from MSOE University, and Lori Smith-Watson from UMBC. Thank you very much, guys, for being with us tonight. I'm sure it will be a great night for us all. And I'd like to show you a map just so that you can see how diverse we are, not only talking about our Education USA team in Brazil, but also talk about the team of universities that are represented here today. So all over the US as well. Yes, thank you very much for being here. And with that, I'll just pass to our first presenter so that we can get started.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in today's presentation. I hope that all the information that we share with you all is information that you can apply as you start doing some research on what next step you should be taking if you want to pursue a degree in the US. And just to kind of get this panel started, we kind of want to inform you guys so that you know whenever you come to talk to us, maybe at an event or when we're visiting your campus, maybe some of the questions that you should be asking. So many times students are wanting to know, like, what's the difference between a degree and a major? So I kind of want to address that a little bit to start off this whole presentation with everyone joining us today. So a degree is pretty much what you're going to get upon completing your major. All right. So if you ever go to an expose, you're talking to one of us and we're asking you what type of degree Are you looking for, we want to know, are you looking for either a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, right? So that way you get a better idea of what type of questions we're asking you, what you're looking for specifically as well. So there are a few different types of degrees. An associate's degree is pretty much what you would receive within your first 2 years at a 4-year university. And that would consist of pretty much your general courses that you would be taking within those 2 years. And that's what an associate's degree is. A bachelor's degree is what you would be completing within 4 years of studying a particular major. And then a master's degree is what you would pursue after a bachelor's degree, which would be an additional 2 years. And then the doctorals is the PhD. And then when we start asking you, like, so what kind of major are you looking for? Now you kind of have a better idea that we're not asking you what degree it is. We're asking you what field are you interested in studying in? So some of the examples we have here is like computer science. That is a particular type of major, media communications, business, graphic design, film. I mean, any of these different types that are listed here are types of majors, which is what you would complete whether you're pursuing a bachelor's or a master's degree. And then there's a lot of different options, right? As the years have progressed, you can tell there's a lot of different types of degrees that are available to you now. And some schools are actually even allowing you to customize your major. All right, so this is something that if you're really interested in maybe customizing a major, start asking schools, is this something that's available on your campus? Not all schools actually offer you the opportunity to be able to customize at Full Sail. It's not really an option at our university, but there's a lot of other universities that do give you that option. So you want to make sure that you know this is the best option for you. Reason being that, when you're pursuing a major, it really depends what type of experience you want to have at a university. Maybe you really want to build some strong bonds throughout those 4 years. And not that it's impossible for you to do the same thing when you customize a major, but you are going to be taking a lot of different types of courses than you would with someone who's selecting a specific major that's already available at a university, because you would be customizing what type of courses you would be taking. So that's why it's important to make sure that you also pick the right college. Like I mentioned, not everybody offers it. We don't offer it at Full Sail, but there are schools that do, and they make it super easy for you. So you just want to be able to make those strategic steps, make sure that you're combining the right courses. So the first thing I would really advise you to do is probably to write a list of what your goals are with your career. What type of employment do you think you're going to be looking for after you graduate? That way you start really selecting those courses a lot more strategically than if you didn't know exactly what you're going to do at the end of the 4 years. And then you want to make sure you're working with your advisor. All of us are advisors here. Every university has different types of advisors that work really closely to international students. We want to make sure that your transition is as smooth as possible. And if you're doing a customized major, make sure that you're asking all the right questions. No matter what doubt you may have in mind, ask those questions. They're there to help you. We're all here to help you just have a better vision of what you want to do in those 4 years on campus. And then you want to make sure that you're very proactive, right? Like I said, you're going to be taking a lot of different courses compared to other students who are following a very specific pathway. And there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to be, following the same pathway you are. So it is important that you are very self-motivated, proactive, just to make sure that you are maximizing everything, even though you are doing a lot of these courses on your own. All right. So we can move on to the next slide. And just to tell you a little bit about Full Sail University, I'm part of the international admissions team at Full Sail, and we're very much more focused on creative careers within the entertainment industries. So that's more like film production, media communications, public relations, music production, technology, just to name a few. And we are in Winter Park, Florida, which is right outside of Orlando. And yes, so here you actually get to see a list of all the degree programs that we have available. We have programs that are available online, on campus, hybrid as well. So you can start online and then transfer onto campus. And those are things you really want to ask at a university. Sometimes we have Brazilian students who want to start off in Brazil, take on, a couple of months online and then transfer over. So these are questions you definitely want to be asking about when you're trying to figure out what school is the best option for you. And yes, so here you actually get to see some of our campus. You can kind of keep going through these slides. It's just to share with you all the different types of facilities that we have within our campus. Everything is state of the art. Students are never using anything that's out of date and irrelevant in the industry. You're always going to be using what the professionals are using in the industry. So we're very focused on hands-on education and making sure you guys are getting that real world experience.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, what is the core curriculum at a U.S. university? My name is Rebecca, and I'm with Appalachian State University. A U.S. undergraduate degree is a mix of focusing on the curriculum of your major, such as engineering, biology, creative writing, and it's focusing on your core curriculum. So the specialization really happens at the master's degree level or graduate degree. But for the undergraduate level, you're required to take a diverse curriculum. A university core curriculum is also known as general education. These courses are usually taken during your first 2 years of university. And one of my colleagues will talk more about general education in just a few minutes. But what's unique to the US university system is that you don't have to know your major from the beginning. Of course, many students do. You might choose the university because it's well known for the major that you want to study. But if you're not sure, it's still okay, because the university core curriculum or the general education gives you an opportunity to explore new subjects and maybe learn something that you've never studied before, like astronomy or nutrition or film. If you haven't decided on a major yet, these courses are important to help you learn what excites you. And I'll tell you a secret, 50 to 80% of US students change their major during their university studies at least one time. I definitely did. So if you know what you love, don't change it. But if you're not quite sure, the core curriculum is there to help you explore and find the subject or major that's best for you. After you've completed the university core curriculum, then you move on into your major. And so in a 4-year degree program, that's usually the second to the last 2 years. Now, these courses are going to be a combination, the major core curriculums, and then they'll have some electives, and those might be a little bit more specialization. So it's possible to choose electives within that major or even another major that might complement that. And you might hear some schools talk about that as a minor. So you can have a major and a minor, but your major classes are going to have that core curriculum as well. And then you might choose something else as a specialization, such as a business degree. You might do a major in international business and then a minor in marketing. Some majors are more flexible. Others are more rigid in terms of like the order in which you need to take the courses. And that can be complicated to navigate. It's hard for me to explain here because there's not just one answer. Every department's different. But there's good news. You don't have to figure it out on your own. As you've already heard, you'll hear this word advisor. So you'll have an academic advisor that person will help you choose your courses and understand the requirements that are needed to complete that major. So the most important thing that I can tell you is that it's important to pay attention to your academic advisor. So from the very beginning of your university studies, you'll meet with an advisor every semester. They'll help walk you through the core curriculum in your first 2 years and then also for your major. Talk to them, share your career goals, what interests you, what classes you're enjoying. Plan your classes with your advisor because they understand the system, they understand the majors, the requirements, and they'll help guide you. Next slide, please. So I work at a large university called Appalachian State University. We are located in the state of North Carolina in a mountainous rural area, and we're about 1,000 meters high. In fact, today we're getting a very surprise snowfall. We're expecting some snow overnight, which we don't always get in April, but that's where we're located. You can see photos here of our 4 distinct seasons. We are a large university. We have 20,000 students, but we're located in this small town. This small town is a popular tourist area. So people like to come here to ski in the winter. And in the summer, they like to come here and do outdoor activities like hiking or camping and exploring nature. So if you love the outdoors, then you would really love being here. Our international students are very diverse from over 45 different countries. And some of our popular majors include education, business, health sciences. And for international students, we get a lot of students interested in music degrees like music performance, music education, and music therapy. But we have more than 150 undergraduate and 80 graduate programs. And our international office provides extensive support and opportunities to connect with our local community. So you can find more information on our website, which I don't have here on this slide, but it's the first 3 letters, APP, so app state, appstate.edu. Next slide, please.
Perfect. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much. I hope everybody can hear me. So yeah, as you can already tell, there is a lot of similarities. There are a lot of similarities of what we've been telling you so far. And I think one of the more important ones is to get as much information as you can, right? So the next topic that we will talk about is study abroad as an international undergraduate student. So what should you keep in mind once you have decided on a school, once you come to campus? I will get back to this slide in the end. First off, I wanted to let you know, as we talked about before, please do your research. It's so important to do that because kind of what you want to do later on in life and what your aspirations are, what your goals are, that really determines also what you want to study and where you want to study. So it's not only about, hey, what do you want to do later on in life as a career, for example. And if you look at schools, what kind of possibilities do they have to enable you to fulfill that career? Do they have a career center? Do they have somebody who can help you find internships, things like that? But also, really, you want to know yourself, right? You want to know, hey, what am I okay with? Do I want to go to a large school? Do I want to go to an urban environment? Do I want to go to a rural environment? Do I want to go to a small school, for example? So these type of things you kind of have to think about as well. So what, where, when, why, and how, very, very important. The how is quite important. We have obviously Education USA here to help you with some of those steps when it comes to the interview process, how to do that, and they can give you some advice in how far, once you get to that point, once you decided on a school, once you decided on a program, how to complete the visa process and what kind of things you need to keep in mind. So find and connect, again, resources that are available to you. Ask questions. It's probably the most important thing that you will get out of all of our presentations is you need to ask questions, and don't be shy. All of us, some of us have studied abroad internationally as well. Some of us have been born in different countries. So please do not hesitate to ask questions. Nobody will judge you for asking questions. Also, for finding resources, if you decided on a school, make sure that you connect with that school. See if they have virtual orientations, pre-departure orientations, where you can ask questions in terms of transportation, things that you need to keep in mind, vaccinations. Some campuses in the US do have certain policies in place that you need to fulfill. So please be mindful. So gather as much information as you can once you have decided on a school and once you are making travel plans and once you've been admitted. Also, once you are on campus, you can connect with virtual on campus, or not virtual, but in-person events. So make sure to reach out, attend these events. Again, get as much information as you can. There's typically also an international student orientation that takes place for international students on campus, or a lot of campuses have that. So please make sure to attend that as well. And typically it's mandatory. So just in case. So once you're on campus, just quickly, Please familiarize yourself with any protocols, anything that you need to keep in mind. For example, right now, again, as I mentioned before, some universities might require vaccinations, certain type of vaccinations. So please just be mindful and make sure you have that information. Be active, join student clubs and organizations, look for campus jobs if you're able to find that, and if you qualify. Some universities offer that as well to help you with some of the expenses. And then, of course, look for internship opportunities. So yeah, very important. So this slide is just an example of what we have at my university, of California State University, Northridge. We do have, for example, a student recreation center. That's a big gym where you can work out together. We have an Oasis Wellness Center, a spa where you can relax and de-stress. But we also do have, of course, a Matador Advisement Hub. That is where you can go as an undergraduate student to make sure that you enroll and get the advisement that you need for the classes that you need to enroll into regarding for your major. And even if you need to switch or change something, they will be able to help you out. And then our Career Center can help you find internships. Super quick, sorry, I'm going backwards. This is just general information of where we are. So we are located in Los Angeles in California. We're a big school in an urban environment. So if that's something what you're looking for, you are definitely at the right place. Today, it's 96 Fahrenheit here in Los Angeles. So it's uniquely warm and hot, but I know that you're used to warm weather. So yeah, lots of sunshine and just a lot of different things to do, and very easily located to, places like Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica. With that, I will continue with the next topic and pass it on, please.
Great, thank you, Boris. So we'll go ahead and continue on the conversation of core curriculum and general education requirements, which is what you'll be required to complete in addition to your major requirements. So as we had discussed earlier, if you plan to study a bachelor's degree in the United States, you'll be required to study your university's core curriculum through a set of general education requirements, or GEs as we like to refer to them. And these are going to be requirements that are in addition to requirements that are going to be needed for your area of study. Next slide, please. So GEs are foundation courses that are designed to promote critical thinking across multiple subjects. So as we had mentioned, typically students complete their general education requirements during the first 2 years of study. Depending on your major, as some majors may have more requirements than others, you might first be required to complete your GEs before completing or before taking any courses for your major or area of study. For some students, if your major does have a lot more requirements for you to fulfill, you might find that you'll be taking your GE courses and your major courses at the same time. You'll find that each university uses a different name for general education requirements, but usually courses cover subjects such as arts, literature, history, math, natural and social sciences. And I'll show you in the next slide a little bit further in detail some of the general education requirements that are required at CSUMB. But regardless of major, all students must complete the university's general education requirements in order to graduate. As my colleagues have mentioned, it's very important that you develop a working relationship with your academic advisor, because they're going to be key in making sure that you are aware of all the requirements that are needed and that you are taking each requirement so that you graduate on time and there's no further delay. You'll find that some of the GE courses that you take may be subjects that are unrelated to your area of study, but I promise that there are many reasons why our general education requirements are an asset to your education. So first and foremost, general education requirements help you improve your skills in writing and speaking. At my university at Cal State Monterey Bay, students take a total of 4 communication courses that definitely help students build on these skills. 3 of those communication courses are taken during their first 2 years, and then the 4th course they'll be taken within the major, but those address some of these goals that are put on by the general education or core curriculum. GEs also help students learn how to ask questions, how to find the answer, and how to navigate information. One of the GE requirements at CSUMB is a first-year seminar course. Our first-year seminar course is designed to introduce all the different resources on campus available to students. Within these courses as well, professors address, any questions or any concerns or just any additional information that students may need in their first year to help them navigate and help them succeed the following years to come. GEs also help students learn different cultures' perspectives. So no matter what area of study, what subject you're studying, these are all skills that you can take with you in your career and in your profession as well. So here's a list of the general education requirements that are required at Cal State Monterey Bay. So you'll see I have two pictures up here. In the first column under lower division, these are requirements that students will need to complete within the first 2 years of study. So you'll see on here that they're very general subjects, but they're key subjects as well. So within our Area A, students are required to take 3 courses within communication. Within our Area B, which is our scientific inquiry and quantitative reasoning area, students are required to take 4 different courses to fulfill that area. Within Area C, our arts and humanities, again, we have 3 requirements that are listed under that area. Within our Area D, social science, again, we have 3 requirements, and under our Area E, we have just 1 course that's required. Sometimes you'll find that courses are created to meet multiple requirements. And so that also helps students kind of get these requirements out of the way. So for example, you can take a science class that will meet both your physical science and your laboratory activity requirement. And so these courses, again, help students kind of pursue their requirements a little bit quicker and get those requirements out of the way. What's great about general education requirements is that students can also discover a new passion, like my colleague had mentioned earlier as well. Many students through some of the general education courses that they take decide to change their major or decide to take on a minor. A minor is something that you can add on to complement your area of study. So for example, one of my international students from Brazil, his major is global studies, but through one of his communication courses, he found how much he enjoys writing and how much he really enjoys journalism. And so he decided to pick up a journalism minor, and that, again, was in addition to his area of study. And so what's great about that is that students can kind of customize, which is what Sandra was talking about earlier, their degree and what they're studying at their university. And aside from that, I will let my colleague continue on the conversation.
All right, hi everyone. So I'm Lauren Humphrey. I'm the Assistant Director of International Admissions at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And I'm going to talk about grading. So curve, GPA, workload, homework, and what all those things mean. So I'll start with talking about what are determined by your grades. So grades are typically determined by quizzes, midterms, final exams, papers, projects, class attendance, and class participation. This can vary from university to university and per instructor. So you will want to check at the beginning of your class what's going to be included in grading. It really can vary, but these are the general things that you're going to see that are included. You might hear the term GPA already. It's something you'll hear a lot moving forward. So GPA equals grade point average. This is the grading system that we utilize in the US. GPA is reported on a 4-point scale. So the top grade is an A, which equals a 4.0. You can see from my example here that an A is a 4.0, a B is a 3.0, and it'll go down from there. Some universities will use plus and minuses. So an A plus is higher than an A minus is lower than an A, which can impact the grade point average scale. It will depend. Some universities just use A, B, C, D, F. Really just depends. However, overall, you'll calculate your GPA by averaging the scores of all of your classes. So if you get all A's, your overall GPA will be a 4.0. And I'll just touch quickly on grading curve as well. So a grade curve or a bell curve uses a distribution of grades when grading exams, essays, and so forth by adding points or bumping up grades. One example of a grading curve would be, so say you're taking a science class and you're really, really good in science. Typically, you do really great on the exams. But you're taking an exam and you notice that you don't know the answers to a lot of the questions, and you see some topics, some information that you don't think was covered in class. So you might get really worried that you're not going to do well on the exam and it's going to lower your overall grade. And then when the instructor is grading the exam, he sees that his top performers are not doing well and that everyone is getting really low scores. So he looks at the exam and he sees the same thing you saw, that there are some topics that he accidentally included that you didn't cover in class. He doesn't want you to all retake a test or retake an exam. So he bumps up everyone's grade by adding some additional points, and you end up with a grade for the exam that is more common to what you would have received on the rest of your exams that you've taken in the class. This is just one example of using a grading curve to either bump up or lower grades based upon an average. Each university and instructor might use this a little bit differently. So again, just like GPA, just like assignments, you're going to want to check with your university and your instructor beginning of class to see how they're going to utilize grading in their course. Next slide, please. So I'll talk a bit about homework, different types of homework that you might see at the university level. There are a lot of different examples, but these are some common ones. So problem sets or packets of questions. This is going to be really common in those math and science courses where you're doing problem sets. You'll also see essays, so long answers to questions. Discussion posts are also very common, especially if your university utilizes an online portal or an online platform. With the discussion post, your instructor will post a question. You're required to answer that question and then follow up by responding to some of your fellow classmates to facilitate a discussion on that question. Of course, you'll have reading. A lot of instructors will assign reading prior to class, whether that's from the book or it could be some websites, some articles, some newspapers where you're looking at information pertaining to what you're learning in class. Also, projects, specifically group projects, are very, very common in most courses. And then there's going to be studying for those tests and those exams and those quizzes. When it comes to workload, this is something that's really important to consider when you're building your class schedule, when you're building your overall schedule and taking into consideration what your workload is going to look like. So our general rule is that 2 to 3 hours of homework and studying is going to be in place per class credit. So each class is assigned a number of credits. Typically, a course is 2, 3, sometimes 4 credits, depending on the length and the difficulty of that course. So a 3 credit hour class is going to equal 9 hours a week outside of the classroom doing homework, projects, studying, things like that. It's really important to consider when you're looking at your overall workload. So taking into consideration the amount of time you're in class, the amount of time you're studying, you're doing homework, you're sleeping, is what you're going to want to look at when you're planning your extracurricular and your other activities to make sure that you're balancing your time well so that you have enough time to be successful academically as well as socially on the campus. And next slide, please. So now I'll just talk a little bit about Embry-Riddle and the university that I represent. So Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University is a small technical school. We focus on space and aviation as well as STEM degrees in science, technology, engineering, and maths. We have 2 residential campuses in the US. One is in Prescott, Arizona, and one is in Daytona Beach, Florida. The differences with these campuses is just going to be size and location. Our Prescott, Arizona campus is located in the mountains in a really small town of Arizona. They do get all 4 seasons, but it's within driving distance to places like Phoenix, LA, Las Vegas, lots of different areas to explore. Our Daytona Beach, Florida campus is in Daytona Beach, so it's right near the beach, and also within driving distance to some cool places like Disney World, NASCAR Speedway. So with these 2 campuses, you're really just deciding between beach or the mountains. Other differences between the two campuses is just size. So our Prescott, Arizona campus has 3,000 students, and our Florida campus is twice in size and 6,000 students. Still both small, just a little bit differences in the sizes there. We do have the first College of Security and Intelligence in the nation, and we are also ranked #1 in aerospace engineering program in the nation. This is largely due to the undergraduate research and projects that a lot of our students participate in. We have really small classroom sizes, allowing our students to participate in a lot of different opportunities and internships with their instructors and fellow classmates. 94% of our students have a placement in a job within their field of study after graduation. So it's a really great place if you're wanting to get right into your industry or your field after graduation. And with that, I'll turn it over to my next colleague to present.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to learn a little bit more about university in the United States. My name is Samantha. I am the Director of Non-Traditional Admissions at the Milwaukee School of Engineering, and I'm going to be talking about your relationship with professors and advisors on campus. So when it comes to the relationship with your professors, who are your professors? So they're industry and research professional experts. And it's really important to have a relationship with your professors because building a relationship with them can lead to a lot of different things. So I have a list here of some things that it can lead to if you spend a lot of time with your professors, if you attend their office hours, if you talk a lot in class, answer questions in class. This kind of relationship can really lead to connections to internship and job opportunities. So it's a really great way to network with your professor. Typically, they have connections to the industry, they have connections to research. So having a relationship with your professor can really build these networking opportunities that lead you to seeking out internships and job opportunities once you graduate. You also have a better understanding of class content and academic concepts. So like I mentioned, if you're attending their office hours, if you're answering questions in class, if you're having open communication with your professors, just going to lead to a better outcome when it comes to your understanding of class content and academic concepts. Your professor can also be a mentor to you. So they can academically, professionally, or personally be a mentor to you. So of course, academically, helping you find those internship and job opportunities, professionally, introducing you to companies and having you network, and then personally as well. Sometimes they can be a person that's there for you if you have any kind of troubles or challenges in your personal life. They also can help you explore academic avenues that you previously did not notice. So many professors will have specialties within certain areas depending on what their research or what their industry experience is in. And if you talk with them and you build a relationship with them, sometimes they can help you discover these areas that you previously did not notice. This could lead you to exploring other academic areas such as a different major or a minor, and really help to set yourself up for success when you are searching for those internship and job opportunities. And then, of course, just a great letter of recommendation. So many employers will request academic letters of recommendation from recent college graduates. So your professor can be that person for you. If you build that relationship with a professor, they can be someone who can speak to your character, especially, again, when you're looking for those internships and jobs after you graduate. So how can you stand out? So we talked a little bit about talking in class, attending office hours, but here's really kind of 5 steps for you to stand out with your professors. So of course, introducing yourself, making sure in each one of your new classes, you're introducing yourself to the professor and you're starting to build that relationship with them. Attending class, that's very important. So when you enter university in the United States, a lot of the responsibility then is on you to attend class. So simply attending class will make sure you can start to build that relationship with your professor. Attending office hours, I mentioned that already, but staying after class for questions as well, and just making sure your professor knows that you're very interested and that you're very involved in your academic study. Number 4, complete the work. So make sure you're completing all of your projects, all of your homework, all of your tests and quizzes to make sure that you're a strong student and that you're showing your professor that you care. And then finally, asking for advice. So this kind of goes back to just building that relationship in general, is asking those questions, attending those office hours, making sure your professor knows that you care about the work that you're doing. Next slide, please. And then second is relationship with academic advisors. So we talked about this a little bit already in the beginning of the presentation. So your advisors are an academic professional expert. So how can they really help advise you? The first is they'll help tailor your schedule and help create your academic plan to help you achieve your career goals. They'll make sure that they're listening to the types of classes you want to be enrolled in, where you want to go with your career. So that way they can help you tailor your schedule and make sure you're checking off all those boxes of the classes that you want to complete. Next, they'll help connect you with campus resources. So they'll help connect you with tutoring, accommodations, counseling services. They'll make sure they'll point you in the right direction of everywhere you need to go on campus when it comes to academic and personal challenges or goals of yours. They can also provide current up-to-date academic information. So if you have questions about what types of classes will be offered in the future, or you have questions about your academic program for your major, they'll be able to provide current up-to-date academic information. They'll also be able to discuss program or career changes. So if you're thinking of changing your major or adding a minor on, or you're unsure about what type of career you want to get into when you graduate, they'll be able to help you discuss that as well. Two things that I have there is make sure that you are responsible for putting in the work to create a relationship with your professors and advisors. So it's really up to you, the student, to be responsible to make those connections and start building that relationship with these important people in your academic career. And then we've talked about this already. Make sure you're doing your research. So which universities will be able to provide the necessary support for your success. It's really important that you're looking at universities holistically when you're trying to make your decision, and your relationship with your academic advisor and your professor are a big part of that. Next slide, please. So I am with Milwaukee School of Engineering, and we're located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We are a STEM school. So we actually specialize in engineering. We specialize in undergraduate engineering. We have a 4-year graduation guarantee, meaning that students who attend and are following their program track, they're graduating in 4 years guaranteed. We're also a very small school, so we have a 13-to-1 student to professor ratio, about 20 to 25 students per class. Overall, we have just under 3,000 students, so it means you're going to get the hands-on attention from your professors that you need to be successful in your classes. Because we're a small school and because we are focused on engineering, we only have about 15 majors. So we're very specialized, and we're actually a direct entry school, meaning that students who are admitted are also admitted into the program of their choice immediately. So students start taking computer science, mechanical engineering, civil engineering right away in the first year. And we don't have many general education classes that students need to complete as a part of the curriculum. We also have a really high graduation outcome rate, so 96%, meaning that students are receiving jobs within 6 months in their field at a 96% rate across all of our majors. And we have a really high starting salary as well. Overall, we are a top 10 best university in the Midwest and a top 10 undergraduate engineering university across the United States. And you can find our website up there at the top, msoe.edu. And that concludes my presentation. So I'll turn it over to the next person.
Thank you, Samantha. My name's Lori Smith-Watson, and I am from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, and I'm really excited to be here with everyone today to talk about career counseling and OPT. And to practice, I'm just learning, bear with me. Hola, boa tarde. So, about careers and OPT, next slide, please. So this is a list of everything the career centers on our campuses and campuses, colleges and universities across the United States provide to all of their students, and especially to international students. International students are vital to the well-being and success of our universities. We welcome you and we want you to succeed. And we know by connecting you early with the resources in our career centers, we can do that. So you're going to work with counselors in our career centers as early as your first year of study to plan forward, to prepare. Usually your internships are going to happen in your second, third, and fourth years of study. But you're going to work with the counselors in the Career Center to do your resume, to make it even better, to make sure you're taking the right classes that will prepare you for the internship that you want to do. And our career centers work very, very closely with our international student service offices in order to make sure that you're able to follow all of the many rules and regulations that international students on the F1 visa in the US must follow in order to keep that visa status. And some of the ways that we do that is we provide one-on-one assistance. There are a lot of online resources. There are in-person resources. There are workshops. There are internship success practicum courses where you would take a 1-credit course, maybe in your second year of study to prepare for an internship you're going to do in the second semester of your second year. There are special resources, especially for international students. And there's something called CPT, Curricular Practical Training. And our career centers work closely, as I mentioned, with our international student services offices to make sure that you are prepared and ready and able to pursue that curricular practical training while you're pursuing your degree. And you can do this at the associate degree level. You can do this at the bachelor's degree level. You can certainly do this at graduate school level as well. And you're able to pursue what's called OPT, or optional practical training, after you complete each of these degrees, an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a master's degree. Next slide, please. So these are just a sampling of different employers across the United States of America that hire international current students and graduates. And one of the things that you'll probably note when looking at this slide is that many of these employers are really international companies. So they know that our international students are going to be returning to their home countries, or, as many of us do throughout our work lives, work in many, many different places around the globe. So please remember, as you're considering all of the choices that you have and which universities to apply to ask early about the opportunities at the universities, what services the career centers provide, how connected those career centers are to the International Student Services Office, so that you can be very well served when you're pursuing your degree in the United States. And we can answer those questions for you from the point of your first inquiry at our universities. Next slide, please. Just a little bit of information about my institution, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. We are about 14,000 students. We are a research level 1 university. So we promote research to our undergraduate and graduate students very heavily. We have an English language institute, as well as our varied undergraduate and graduate programs of study. There's a sample here on the slide of just a few of our programs, the most popular programs. I would stress that at my institution, we are extraordinarily student-centered and very community-oriented. We believe very strongly that it is incredibly important for all of us to support the success of each other. So our students are taught to and expected to assist each other, whether it's finding that perfect internship or getting an A in your physics class, or whatever your goal at that given time is. We work very, very closely together with that. And we want to thank you very, very much for joining us for our presentation. We hope that for those of us who have Zoom rooms following this hour, you'll be able to come and talk with us more to learn more about our institutions. And I'll turn it over to our leaders for questions and answers. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you very much, you all. I learned a lot, made some notes. Hopefully the students did the same. And we have some questions here. Some of them were briefly answered, and some others were just there and would like to bring them here. And one of the questions is about actually application. And we talked a lot about general education. And so, but we have a question that says, if I apply as undecided, does it hurt my application in some way?
At most institutions, no. At most universities, no.
Okay, great. Another question talks a little about the personalization of the course, of the program. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about that? Because that's very different from what we have here in Brazil. Usually we have like a set of mandatory courses and very few electives. So students get a bit lost when we talk about general education and this flexibility.
Yeah, I can answer that. So at CSUMB, the university will build a set of courses that are designed to meet a specific requirement. And then the flexibility that the student would have in that case would be that they can select one of those courses, which is of their interest, to meet that specific requirement. Of course, there may be some courses that are mandatory that don't have other options to select, but for the most part, specifically with like the general education requirements, and even with some of like the major requirements within the concentration or just within the elective portion of their major program, they can be a little bit flexible with selecting the courses that they find interesting or that they might want to take.
And we know it can be really confusing. So we have programs that will help you do that will help you navigate and choose and select. We will help you to do that.
Excellent, thank you. And still on that, you mentioned the advisor, right? The advisor that will work with students in helping students in choosing courses and navigating the process. Can you please tell us a bit more about how this relationship works? If the student is assigned an advisor, how does it work in like practical ways?
We find that oftentimes students have questions as they're considering the university. So we can connect them in admissions with the advisors to answer questions about what's it like to study computer science at UMBC? Or would I have to take these classes? One of the things that's really important to know, students, is it's okay to tell an advisor, I don't like history. I don't want to take history for my social science GE. That's okay. You can be honest with the advisor, and they'll be honest with you too. If you're working with the pre-med advisor, they're going to be honest with you and tell you that medical school's not going to want you to have only a C in chemistry. They're going to want you to have an A in chemistry. So it's very much interactive communication.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question is about the differences between a liberal arts, general education, core curriculum. If they are all the same, if there are any differences between them.
We use those phrases interchangeably. We really, really do. Now, institutions are very different. You heard an example here. So Samantha was sharing there aren't as many GEs required because her school is very specialized. And the flexibility of what you can choose within those general education courses varies from school to school. But very, very generally speaking, these are required because of that 4-year bachelor's degree, liberal arts education that we promote so heavily in the United States. I'm going to echo Boris and say, ask specific questions. As you talk with representatives, it's okay to ask specific questions.
Danny, you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah, saw it here. And yeah, now there is a very specific question, actually. What is a Research One institution?
So there's a Carnegie classification system that really just looks at how much research, new information about disciplines a university produces. And this is produced predominantly by the faculty, but at most of our institutions by the graduate students and undergraduate students also. And the highest level of production of research is considered research level 1. And there are other levels. We think this is really, really important because there's so much always to be discovered and learned and to know. And we know that the more students have the skills to do that, the more employable they will be, that they'll hopefully get the job of their choice, and certainly be able to go on for advanced study, professional schools, etc. So those are just some of the opportunities.
Excellent. Thank you, Lori. And now a question about costs of education. And someone has mentioned here, well, you're telling us about many resources, and do we pay extra for that? That's one question. And another question is about, like, in general, about the cost of education in the US and available scholarships that may be offered by different schools. If you can talk a little bit about these.
Yeah, a great question. I think and I think I can speak for all of our universities that typically those additional services, the resources that you can find, these are typically, there's no additional charge attached to that. However, when it comes to general cost of education in the US, yes, it does cost money. There is a tuition fee that our institutions have, and that tuition fee varies from institution to institution. So it really depends on what you're looking for. There are typically scholarships available as well. A lot of institutions do have that. So of course, that's also one of the one of the things you need to research and take a look at. And typically universities do have that on their website as well, available scholarships or things to consider when you enroll. So you can make sure that you have the necessary funds. Also, on a side note, typically in order to receive an I-20, and I know that Education USA specifically can speak to that a little bit more, but usually institutions then require you to provide what we call a financial affidavit, and that is typically the amount that it takes to study at a university for a year, let's say. And those financial affidavits, so those amounts vary again from institution to institution, but that also gives you an idea what to budget for a typical year at a US university if you study and live there.
That's great, Boris. Thank you very much. And with that final answer, I actually would like to thank all these representatives who are here with us today, and will continue with us, and also thank the participation of the students with us tonight. And please, Marina, your turn.
We're going to, it was a very informative session. As Danny said, I took notes, and I really hope students do too. But thank you for being here. It has been a pleasure. And now we will send your Zoom links to the students here in the chat, and hopefully you will be off to have very productive conversations with them. Thank you for being here, everyone. It was wonderful.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Muito obrigado.